Hey guys, what is going on? I am back to talk Terrifier 3. This phenomenon that is sweeping the horror nation right now and just took out Joker Folio 2, I believe is how you say it, in its second week. So everybody is pretty excited because I guess it made about $18 million. Anyway, let's get into it. So, Terrifier 3. Okay, so this is a bit of a weird story for me. Now, I always get my tickets ahead of time, in advance, and I like to buy them as early out as I can. Preferably a few weeks if they're there. Usually you can get them a couple of weeks out without any trouble or anything like that. But in this case with Terrifier 3, I wasn't able to reserve tickets at all until the Tuesday late morning, the very week it was scheduled to release. So it's not unheard of, but it's definitely not a typical thing that you're going to see. So that was a little strange for me, but I didn't really think much of it. I just thought, okay, maybe it's because it's, I think it's still classified as an indie. Maybe they just didn't have any release for it or whatever, or they had to do whatever. Long story short, couldn't get them till Tuesday, so I grabbed 2 seats because my daughter wanted to go. We generally go together, like my daughter and I, or my son and I, or I just, I go solo and watch plenty of movies as well. But the kids are horror fans. They don't always like everything I do, but with the Terrifier series, especially my daughter is more of a fan. My son doesn't mind it, but my daughter wanted to go, so we were going to go. And we got down there, I don't know, probably 20 minutes before the show was supposed to start. And all of a sudden I heard I overheard them talking to someone in front of us about needing ID. And I thought, need ID? And I'm like, ooh, what's going on here? Because, just the term just reeked Terrifier 3, because I'm like, what else is going to be playing that's going to offend people more than a gore fest, right? So, unfortunately, that was the case, that it was like a hard R restriction, meaning no one under 18 could get in at all, like even accompanied. Like most of the movies we go to, I guess, are 18A really, which is like how our rating system works here in Alberta. 18A is like restricted. It's just they're giving the parents the option, like if you want to take your teenager, your kid or whatever, if you think they're going to be okay with this, by all means. And that's usually what the case is. I didn't even think about it, so we got there and I was like, oh my God, so this sucks. So of course we couldn't get in, and we left. And unfortunately, because it was less than a half an hour till showtime, I wasn't able to get a refund on the tickets. So that kind of sucked. So I paid for them anyway, and I didn't get to see it in the theater. So I didn't get to see it in the theater, and here is essentially why. This Landmark Cinemas info on Terrifier 3 here, for example, told me everything I needed to know. At the bottom, you'll see it highlighted there. It shows the rating that Terrifier 3 got in those individual provinces throughout Canada, and pretty much every place that has a Landmark Cinema across Canada all have the movie rated 18A. But of course, in Alberta, where I live, where they made it restricted, and anyone under the age of 18 is not permitted in Canada when it's restricted. So that was quite the slap in the head. Now, I should also mention that this wasn't just Landmark Cinemas. Like, I want to be clear about that, as this is in any of the other theaters, like Cineplex, Odeon, whatever. That's just the rating that the government gave the film, the government of Alberta, which is just, like I said, shocking, because Alberta is kind of known as the Canadian Texas, So they're pretty loose on a lot of things, I guess you could say. And I'm thinking, well, maybe I'll just go see it the following day or something. But it was annoying, you know, because I paid for it already, and I'm the kind of guy who, you know, I buy the physical media and I contribute to the horror community totally, so I didn't really feel bad about checking it out because somebody had a stream. So my thoughts on Terrifier 3 after seeing it. Now, going into it, I figured they would probably try to turn the volume up again. You know, that's usually how it goes, and I don't know why Damien feels that way. I guess maybe people are expecting it to be bigger and badder, but I feel like with what you've established with the first Terrifier and the second, you know, you've got a pretty big grotesque playground that we've all, you know, I think we've seen it, you know, we understand that's Art, you know, that's Art the Clown, that's what he does, you know, like I myself, I'm not a big gore guy. I've never been a big gore horror kind of guy. I don't seek it out, and I don't crave gore horror. It doesn't really, whatever. You know, I'm a slasher fan, and that's what I like about Art is he's, you know, well, he's a slasher. And yeah, he just happens to be a really gory one, so I accept that. But I feel like you could have played in that same sandbox and you didn't have to try to push the envelope even further. We've already seen some of the grossest shit you can imagine with, you know, the Terrifier series, so I did think that was a little unnecessary, you know, like you don't have to outdo yourself, but whatever. That being said, I thought the movie overall was, it was wild. Like, the gore was completely over the top. There were way more fun scenes in it, you know, all the Christmas elements, I think got people really excited too, and the fun situations Art was in, and there's, you know, without giving too much away, you know, there's like there's a certain cosplay scene that's kind of funny, and well, of course I'd get a kick out of that. But another thing I wanted to mention for sure is that there were a lot of nice, you know, tip of the cap nods to some classic horror movies. You know, over the years, there's a few references. I'm not going to go into specifics here in case you haven't seen it yet, but there's a few references to some classic horror films that was pretty cool to see as well. There's all sorts of different little scenes in it and stuff that they put Art in that you're just kind of like, oh, this is going to be exciting, right? So it was a fun movie in that respect, right? I feel like just about everybody that has commented on it has like adored it. Like they think it's, you know, they're really impressed. You can tell it's by far their favorite already. I can say there were a few things that I wouldn't, you know, if it were me, I wouldn't have gone that direction. Like for instance, with Elliot Fulham's character, Jonathan, he was kind of my favorite from Terrifier 2. And in the third one, I felt that he was kind of going a direction I wouldn't have put him in, I guess you could say, without giving anything away. I just thought, you know, I probably would do, I don't know, things differently with that character, that's all. I felt like he didn't get as much spotlight as I maybe would have liked him to have, you know what I mean? Yeah, so that was one thing that I thought was a little strange. And of course, the, I keep forgetting her name, but the lady with the no face, I was surprised at her role in this because it's quite a bit bigger, and you know, she's kind of a voice in it, you know, so she had sort of a bigger role than I was expecting. So that those elements were a little surprising. I probably wouldn't have done, you know, those particular things personally if it were my movie, but it's not, and I'm just here to enjoy it. And enjoy it I did. I thought overall it was good enough for like a you know, an 8 out of 10 good time at the theater if you know, gore doesn't bother you, or maybe you get impressed by that kind of crazy special effects stuff. I was impressed. I mean, a lot of it, while it looks it looks pretty real, at the same time it doesn't, you know, so I don't let it bother me too much, but it's definitely super gory and has some really gnarly scenes that just keep pushing that envelope, you know, like I said. So I feel like I want to tell Damien, though, it's like, dude, you don't need to push the envelope, you know, you just keep playing right around in there. It's plenty gory. Like, we know Art is like the king of gore. It's his thing. There's nothing he wouldn't do. I get it, you know. But really, you know, you can stay in that realm. You don't have to keep thinking of things even more over the top gross. It's like, you know, I think we've covered pretty much the whole spectrum there with Art. He's quite the gore meister. Holy shit. But yeah, fun movie overall. I thought it was a lot of fun. And if I were to rank them, though, I know everybody seems to be putting, I think, 3 in the number 1 spot. I still slightly prefer Terrifier 2. And I think it's just because I wasn't expecting Terrifier 2 to be as good as it ended up being for me. I was expecting, you know, something, well, just not that good. And it surprised me. And I think it's still just a nudge better than this one. You know, if I had to rank them, I'd put 2 first, then 3, then 1. There's a special spot for 1. It's cool because it was so, you know, low budget, and I really like the you know, the pizza place scene in that, and you know, the building with the janitor, you know, and having a smoke break and stuff. Those were cool scenes, and it was nice atmosphere. But there's a lot of it that wasn't great, you know, and it's a little on the predictable side, I guess. But gory Art, you know. They're all pretty cool movies, though. I don't think there's really a bad Terrifier movie. And this one was great, but I think I'd still go 2 as my number 1. And yes, I know All Hallows Eve, of course, there is that one as well. You know, little tip of the cap to that, even though that wasn't, you know, DHT in that. And Art wasn't featured a lot in that, just kind of a bit. Still cool. So that's sort of on the bottom, of course. I can't really rank it the same because it's not like a dedicated movie, but I would go 2, 3, 1 personally. But really cool movie. So if you're into the Terrifier series and you don't mind gore at all, check out Terrifier 3. It is a wild ride of gore and mayhem. So that's my thoughts on that one, guys. What did you think of Terrifier 3? Let me know in the comments. As always, I mean, maybe you're not into those movies, maybe you are, whatever. Maybe you think 3 is far and away the best, and I totally respect that too. You know, it's a cool movie. So let me know in the comments, like I said, and we'll see you again for another one real soon. Take care, guys.